Hi, everybody. Welcome to Cooking Together. This is, I'm Chef Weta Michael, and I'm here with Chef Tyler McNabb.
Hi.
We are in the cooking studio, the Holly Hill & Co. cooking studio on Main Street in Versailles, Kentucky. And this is our first episode of our new cooking class series, Cooking Together with Weta and Tyler. And we're super glad you're here. So welcome. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel by hitting the subscribe button, and we are going to be uploading more content in 2025. This is the first episode, but starting in January, there'll be another episode coming soon, and all different kinds of topics, just like what we teach here in the class. We've been teaching cooking classes here in person for more than a year, almost a year and a half. Yeah. In fact, we did Friendsgiving in the studio last year, just in front of people.
But you did it all by yourself.
I did. It was a little stressful. Donna helped me. Donna helped me. There are hundreds of folks watching tonight all over the country, and we even have some friends abroad who are watching from New Zealand, some from Mexico, maybe one or two from Bahrain. And we really want you all to join in the chat. And our goal was to bring people together, to have some fun. We need a little joy up in this house. And for you to share all your different holiday traditions, your different Thanksgiving recipes, different questions. And if you have questions that you need answered about roasting turkey, anything regarding the Thanksgiving dinner. I've been making Thanksgiving dinner now for 50 years, so I got you covered. And Tyler's been doing it for
about 10 years.
About 10 years, yes. Well, that's good. So between the two of us, we have quite a bit of experience here. And we have Donna and Mike running the chat. So if Donna can answer a question, she will, but Mike will throw us questions throughout the whole class. So don't worry about that. If you have a question, ask it. And we want to bring people together. We want you to connect, and we really want to connect with you to make the internet a more friendly and happy place. Tonight, we're going to talk turkey. We're going to show you how to prep your turkey for roasting, how to carve your turkey. We're making my grandmother's dressing. Tyler's making his grandmother's frozen cheese salad.
Frozen cheese salad.
We're going to have battle of the cranberry sauces.
Battle of the gravies.
We got we got kind of a gravy battle going, although we're more simpatico on gravy. Yeah.
Right.
Actually, some of this is made up. We're pretty simpatico on it. We'll be doing tarte tatin, and then we have a whole bunch of dishes that we're bringing out. Tyler's wife, Brenna, has her favorite, she shared the recipe for her favorite green bean and mushroom casserole. So a lot of these dishes that we're making tonight that we sent you the recipes for, they're from our families. They're our family traditions. So we really want to encourage you to try to share your own family traditions. We want to see the recipes flying in because we want...
If you're willing to share your family secrets in the YouTube chat, we want to hear what you all like to do at home.
This is definitely my absolute favorite holiday is Thanksgiving. My family comes in, I cook the same Thanksgiving meal every year, and it's the Thanksgiving meal I grew up eating. But Tyler, what does it mean to you?
Thanksgiving for me, well, first of all, I just wanted to say also welcome to everyone. Thanks for being here. Thanks for watching. This is going to be a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to doing more of these. And Thanksgiving is my favorite holiday of the year because
I wonder why.
it's food centric, and I mean you don't have to belong to a certain faith to participate. You don't have to belong to any. There are no qualifiers to celebrate getting together with people you love, eating good food, sharing recipes and stories, and passing out in front of a football game.
But like the day itself has some special significance to you.
And that's what I was going to say. So Thanksgiving Day is especially significant for me because I proposed to my wife on Thanksgiving Day in 2019.
So romantic.
And she said yes, thankfully.
Did you put the ring inside the turkey?
Oh, no. I did. I was carrying around the box awkwardly in my jacket all day. So I had this nobody saw it. It all worked out. And then 2 years later, our twins, Theo and Ruby, were born on Thanksgiving Day. So we have a few reasons to celebrate Thanksgiving, in addition to all just getting together with people we love and remembering my nan's frozen cheese salad. That was a favorite of one of my dad's favorite things, and I don't have a recipe for it. We're trying to recreate it here. I'm searching. I'm going down a rabbit hole trying to recreate this thing. So
if you've had frozen cheese salad in your past, it's made with orange Jello.
Yeah.
shoot us the recipes so that we can try it out.
I would love, what weird recipes do you and your family produce this time of year? But we have a few traditions. One being from Brenna's family. Before every Thanksgiving meal, everyone gets 2 candy corns, and we go around the table and you say 2 things you're thankful for, and then you get to eat your candy corns.
Ooh, I love that.
Which is a lot of fun. And what about you? Do you have any? We
stand in a big circle and everybody holds hands, and then when your time comes, your hand gets squeezed and you say what you're grateful for that year. And everybody always says, I'm grateful for friends and family, which we really do believe. But a lot of these classes that you and I teach together, what we're really doing is trying to get to know you through our food stories. We're trying to show you who we are, and it's really personal. And also we're trying to teach cooking skills. We're trying to have fun, tell a few stories, have a few laughs, and show you how approachable and fun cooking can be, and share the food culture of Kentucky, and get people to understand that your food culture, it enriches your life. It's part of our lives, and here in Kentucky we have so much agriculture, and we have a beautiful culture of agriculture, and this is a big part of what our website is all about, what our newsletter is all about, what our restaurants are all about, and what you and I are all about. So enjoy.
And I think that's a great segue
into
this beautiful local bird from Elmwood Stock Farm.
Oh yeah.
That our good friend Charles Taylor helped me procure. He used to work for us, used to be a chef in the company, and he's the CSA farm manager over at Elmwood now, and they're you should have seen when I drove by to get these turkeys. They had bus tubs as big as this island full of dry ice, and they were packing and shipping, and so they're in their busy season. They do still have some turkeys for sale, I believe, and they're going to continue to have turkeys for sale through the holiday season, and I think they are shipping until Monday night. But this is an organic, certified organic, free range turkey, and this is a broad-breasted turkey. They have 2 kinds at Elmwood.
That's right.
This is the broad-breasted, which is going to be more similar to like your domesticated turkey.
Right.
Then they have a heritage breed, which is going to be more akin to a wild turkey.
Right.
And so this is the broad-breasted. We've gone with that. But if you like your turkey a little bit more on the gamier side, and not gamey, but like, in a good way.
Now you said Max said this is a 12-pound turkey.
This is a 12-pound turkey, which means it is most likely a hen. Okay. And that's because most of the hens are going to be 16 pounds and under, and then the toms are all going to be about 17, 18 pounds and higher. So if you're buying a bird on the smaller side, more than likely it's a hen. But he also said that he never could really taste the difference between the two. But I know some people are like, no, I want a tom or I want a hen.
I like a smaller bird because now this is to me what everybody's super worried about all the time is overcooking the turkey or not cooking it enough. So we really want to take people through. Now, and what we do, both of us agree on this, is we've left this turkey out for some time so that the skin could dry out, and so the turkey could come to room temperature.
Right.
Or it's cool to the touch, but
it's cool, but we've let it, and so we've left it uncovered in the refrigerator, just so that whatever residual moisture was on the turkey could dry out, and that's how you achieve a nice crispy skin and good golden brown color. And this is super dry to the touch. And because it's a beautiful local bird and it's fairly fresh, even though it was frozen, it's not packed full of saline, and
there's no button.
There's no thermometer, coming out, but it's fairly dry, which is really important for a good roast on the skin. So we've tempered it, so we've let it dry in the fridge, and we've also pulled it out earlier in the day to come to room temperature, which is going to make for a more even cook. Because the internal temperature doesn't have to work as hard to catch up to the exterior.
Right.
You're not going to overcook the outside before you reach that ideal temp.
And we just butter and salt,
and we keep it really, really simple. And I know there are a million recipes out there for the
gosh.
perfect way, the best way. This is how you carve. This is
I don't even want to know what AI is going to go through to tell people how to roast their turkeys for Thanksgiving.
I keep it super simple for my family, and that's because it's already a hectic day. I produce a ton of desserts and side dishes, and really, if you start with good, really, the most important thing I could say is start with a good product, like an organic bird from your local farm. Elmwood Stock Farm, Hollow Oak in Barry, Kentucky are a couple of great ones that I've used in the past.
Two's Turkey up by Cincinnati.
Yeah, so
Farmer Joe.
Farmer Joe, and if he's still doing turkeys, I hope he is.
I think he is.
That's great. So yeah, start with a good local turkey, and then the rest is really easy. Just keep it simple. We do a hefty amount of salt and lots of butter.
Lots of butter, and I have that whole bowl of butter for you over there. Oh yeah, bring all that over here. Now I noticed that you don't see. Now one thing that I do, but I don't know if you do, is like I come up under the skin. Okay, you do. All right.
Yeah. So but I start with salt, and actually. I like to, we just wanted to demonstrate the salt, how we salt the bird.
Yeah.
But typically, when I pull it out to temper, I go ahead and salt it then, early in the day, to let the salt penetrate and, essentially, a lot of people brine their birds, which I think is great. We actually brine a lot of turkeys for our Thanksgiving to-go meals.
Yeah, but we have a huge walk-in.
We have a huge walk-in, and we have giant 50-gallon tubs that we can chill things in. At my house, believe it or not, I have a regular refrigerator, and I don't have space for brining a 15-pound bird and an 8-pound bird, and so I like to do a long seasoning, almost like a cure on the bird. And you can do this overnight. You can season it with salt the night before. It's going to pull out moisture, which is going to aid in crisping up that skin.
And what do people call that?
Well, some people call it dry brining, but we don't think that's really a thing.
We just call this seasoning.
It's just called seasoning. Brining is a wet procedure, and then there's seasoning with salt. So we're seasoning with salt. This is Diamond Crystal Kosher, which is just our go-to kosher salt that we use in all of the restaurants. And we prefer it because it doesn't have any additives. It's a fine kosher salt, and there are no like anti-caking agents or anything, so it doesn't interact with. It doesn't.
We have the turkey necks, which I might say. I love to roast the turkey on the necks. That's what I do. And I mean, I do use a roasting rack, and you do as well.
Yeah.
But one thing we wanted to show you guys is we have a little small countertop oven here in the studio. So we don't have a big built-in oven or any of our big convection ovens. And we wanted to keep it as simple as possible. So if we can do this here, which we did all day today, in this little countertop oven, it's super easy for you to do this at home. And that's one reason a good 12-pound bird, between 12 and 13 pounds, is a nice size to start with. And that's my favorite size. That's the size I usually buy. And I will maybe raise 2 or 3 of those, depending on how many people are coming to dinner. That way you always have a show turkey, which you put on the table whole, and can be carved for seconds, and then you have a platter of carved meat to keep people going through the buffet line. That's my tip for, fast Thanksgiving service. Mm-hmm. We like to tuck the tips of the wings under. So there's your wing, and you just pull it back and slide it under the shoulder. Keeps it nice and compact. Tucks the tips down, and then a hefty amount of butter, and we just. But you're putting it under the skin too.
I like to put it. Yeah, I like to apply it all around the bird, and then rub it inside as well, under the skin.
I do that with roast chicken too.
You do that with roast chicken? Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. It helps to it's super lean, so you need to add a little bit of fat, especially the local organic birds. And so what Weta was talking about is.
I want you to be able to see it.
So just making a little pockets underneath the skin, and this turkeys, if you're using especially like a commodity store-bought chicken, mm-hmm. It's easy to rip through the skin, but the skin on this guy is
great. And also, here's the thing that's great about local turkeys and Elmwood's turkeys and birds, but a lot of farm-raised turkeys and birds, is their bones are going to be a lot stronger, because like at Elmwood Stock Farm, they're free range out in the field, and they're just running around pecking on the dirt, and so that gives them really strong bones. And then their skin is also really strong, so it gets really crispy, which is something I absolutely love at Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-oh.
Neck down.
Neck down. Here, we'll wash that off.
So, I've done compound butters in the past. I've brined, again, which I think brining your bird is great if you've got the space for it, but I think it's really, all about achieving in order to achieve a beautiful golden brown on your turkey. I think salt and butter is the way to go. Anything else can be a distraction and can get in the way. And also, you get to add so many flavorings in the way of the gravy and in your cranberry relish.
You have to get it all the way up in here. That's the way I hear it.
Yep, I got you.
You got it?
Yeah.
I got it. I like that. See where Tyler's hand is? And you just have to work your hand under there gently. But like he said, if you're using a local turkey, it's much easier because the skin is so strong. See how we're working that butter all the way into there? And it's kind of a self-based, which I love. I'm not a huge fan of brining. I mean, I have done turkey in the rye where we've used dry whiskey and sorghum and stuff, which I do really like. But in general, I'm like you. I've got a lot of stuff to do. It's super stressful to brine that turkey. Chad Linden, if he's watching, is probably mad at us for saying that. If you're going to smoke your turkey, you may want to consider it.
I will say, if you do brine it, it's also, it's really important then to do the air drying process in your refrigerator. So you really have to start several days in advance to get a good 24-hour or even longer brine on the bird, and then to take it out of that brine and then let it dry out in the fridge once again, so that you can achieve that crispy skin.
I love that. And you only need a turkey refrigerator.
That's right. So there's a little bit of moisture on the skin, and that's just where we salted it. You saw us apply the salt. And if you do, the benefit of doing the salting well ahead is that, that salt it's penetrating the skin and it's pulling out moisture. But if you do it well in advance, a lot of that moisture is reabsorbed into the bird, and you can then pat it dry with a paper towel before you apply your butter. What
do you put on the inside of your bird?
So I know that you do a stuffing. You do a true classic.
I'm a stuffing person.
Stuffing, and we always grew up just doing dressing on the side. Brenna, my wife, her family do stuffing on the inside. So I typically stuff some. I put some aromatics in, like some onion and oranges or lemons, and some bouquet garni, like fresh parsley, thyme, sage, rosemary, and then I like to tie up the legs. But you stuff it with.
I do stuff it, and I do have both. I like to have some dressing that's never been in the bird, and I like to have some stuffing that I'm pulling out of the bird. Mm-hmm. And we stuff into both cavities of the bird. And I don't know if you saw, but as Tyler can show you, there's a lot of skin on this end of the bird, and that you can fill that with stuffing and then pull the skin up taut. You can sew that or just tie the legs. Tying the legs will keep it closed. Mike, you have a question?
Yeah, if you buy an organic brined turkey, do you still add the salt?
If you buy an organic brined turkey, I would not add salt ahead of time. But you do still want to season your bird. I mean, I would not let it sit like Tyler recommended. This bird is completely au naturel. It has had nothing added to it.
Yeah.
So it hasn't been, there's no saline, there's no brine or anything that.
You might just do a light sprinkle of salt
Yeah.
on the outside. Not near as much as I put on this guy though. If it's brined, it's going to be well seasoned. All right, do you want to? So I like to tie the two legs.
Nose.
Yep. I like to tie the two legs to the tail. It just keeps everything nice and tight. And if we don't do that, we're not going to be able to fit this bird into our little countertop oven.
Yeah, I like that too. Actually, you might need to pull that guy a little bit further out. We got him?
There you go.
Okay, so now we have them all buttered up. And when you're roasting your bird, one thing to keep in mind is you need to roast it for, I like to do 350. There are all different kinds of philosophies around. There's start it high at 425 and then go low to finish. I just pick a simple constant temperature. I roast it for about 13 minutes per pound. But I think the most important thing is for you to constantly check with your eyes, with your nose, and with a thermometer for the right temperature. So when you take the temperature of your bird, and we'll remind you of these temperatures again as we go through the class and show you the cooked turkey, you want to put your thermometer straight into the breast, into the thickest part of the breast. Don't touch any bones. Try to keep your thermometer away from any bones, and then it should read 160. And you don't want it struggling to get to 160. You want it to be 160 and what we say rising, or 158 and rising. And then you're going to take the temperature right here in between the thigh and the leg quarter and the breast. And you want that, again, avoiding bones, you want that temperature to be 175. So it is really important. Remember the danger zone, you need to be cooking all of your food up to 165. So if you do stuff the bird, you run the risk of drying out your breast. So you want to make sure that you don't have too much stuffing in and that it needs to be somewhat loosely packed. So you don't want to create big stuffing balls and pack them into your bird.
It's also, as it cooks, the bird's going to shrink a little bit. And if you overpack it, it's going to, some of that stuffing's going to come out. So yeah.
And you need to take the temperature of your stuffing. It needs to be at 165, and you just put your probe in there and see what your temperature is on both sides, wherever you have your stuffing in the bird. And then I roast on the necks. So my mom used to always make a giblet gravy, and she would set the necks down into the roasting pan, and we would set the bird on top of that. You can use a roasting pan, roasting frame, and all that stuff. You can buy fancy roasting pans. We're going to be just roasting on a plain old sheet pan, and you'll see that when we make the gravy. So this bird is officially ready.
And I just wanted to say, before we move on, it's important to, when cooking anything, to have multiple reference points for checking for doneness. So thermometer is a great safety net, and I use a thermometer when I'm temping my bird throughout the day. But I'm also looking for that joint in the leg and thigh to relax, and because that tells me that the cartilage in there has softened and has cooked through, and that it's reached that internal temperature that allows it to become nice and tender. An undercooked thigh is even if it's even a safely cooked thigh at 160 or 170 degrees is not tender and succulent like a well cooked relaxed thigh. And checking the juices as well. One of the benefits of not stuffing your turkey is that a lot of those natural juices collect in that cavity, and you can see, if you're using a turkey baster, you can suck a few of them up into the baster, and you can see if they're nice and brown and clear.
And you do use a turkey. You do.
It's the only day of the year that I ever use a turkey baster is on Thanksgiving. And some people say that you shouldn't baste your turkey because it inhibits the crispiness of the skin. And I think that's true if you're basting with all of the liquid that's being produced. But I like to
baste with the fat.
Baste with the fat, which then helps to crisp up.
Which is why we put all this butter in here.
Exactly. So will you just grab the little pitcher real quick, and I'll just show. So if you pull some of the juices out of the pan as you're cooking, and you don't want to be opening the door too much, but honestly, I don't really mess with the turkey all that much until it's nearing the end of the cook time. And then, you can pull your juices out, and the fat separates right to the top, and then you can just suck a little bit of that fat up, and then that applied to the outside of the skin is going to help it to crisp up.
Can I just say something too? It's like, this is not brain surgery. And I have cooked turkeys now for many decades, and I pull the old bird straight out of the oven and put it on top of the stove. I give it a good baste. I do try to just use the fat, and then I put it back in the oven. And by the time you've done that a couple of times, you also you're basting your stuffing inside, which is so delicious, and also just moistening the skin. It's in there long enough that the skin will recrisp. Believe me, I have never served a turkey with soggy skin, and I have basted them for decades. And I also have opened the oven door and every other thing. The key is to make sure that you don't roast it for 4 hours and that you take the temperature. It really boils down to that. I mean, okay, let's move on. We will show you how to carve a turkey. Mike has another question.
Before we move on and move the turkey, since we have the aerial camera, if you could use your finger and point to where the thermometer should go in.
Yeah.
Yes.
So thickest part of the breast. Can we see that? Yeah. So thickest part of the breast without hitting the keel bone. You want to avoid that. So don't really go in at an angle. You can kind of go in straight down from this angle. And then I like to go, you can go in from either side on the leg and thigh.
Yeah, we've got multiple ones of these we can show you. So you go straight in like that, and then straight in like this.
Yep.
I shouldn't really be drilling holes in this one.
You're going into the thigh or the bottom of the breast when you do that?
You're going into this little part of the thigh right here, but you do not want to hit the thigh bone.
Yeah.
So
that'll give you a false reading because the bone's going to be.
It'll be much easier when you're doing this. This is raw turkey.
Right.
It'll be easy. Don't worry. I'm not going to use it on the cooked turkey. Very important not to.
Okay.
We have all kinds of butter over here on our soap and everything else. I have to clean that up.
All right.
Okay,
I'm going to wipe down our board real quick.
Okay, yeah, wipe down our board. We've got our little bucket over here.
Thank you.
Okay, and move that. And bring over the dressing.
So now we're talking, are we talking dressing or are we talking stuffing?
Well,
And what's the difference?
so, of course, I think we said earlier, and just something to remember is, this is, when it goes in the bird, it's stuffing. When it's out of the bird, it's dressing. This particular recipe I have made for it's been served in my family every year for my whole life. And we call it a sage stuffing. And we have here, before we get to everything, you have the recipe. And I want to talk about the different components that are in the dish real quickly before we bring it all together. First of all, we made for our family, it takes about 3 gallons of homemade chicken stock to get all the dressing moist and to do a good gravy. We need about 1 gallon of gravy in our household. We are feeding a lot of people, but like the gravy is imperative.
Mm-hmm. For the Thanksgiving meal proper, as much as the leftovers. You got to have gravy for leftovers.
Yes, and the other thing is that you know how I feel about sauce. I just cannot stand it when there's not enough sauce for the meat. So chicken stock,
even the best roasted turkey,
it needs gravy.
Yeah.
So this we made it last night, and we sent you the recipe. And the basic ratio for all stocks is 8 pounds of bones and 6 quarts of water create 1 gallon of stock. And we add a mirepoix to that, and I think it's 1 pound of mirepoix. And there's a ratio for mirepoix, which is 50% onion, 25% celery, 25% carrot. I don't weigh all that out. I kind of eyeball it. Like, you don't want so much vegetable in there that it's going to taste like vegetables. You really want it to taste like chicken. And then we have these beautiful, so I highly recommend doing that, and I think you could do that this weekend. Make yourself some good chicken broth. If you have an Instapot, it works really good in the Instapot. I make broth all the time that way. And my favorite, you can use chicken bones. You can collect them and keep them in your freezer, but also you can just get drum bones at the grocery store, and they make a beautiful chicken stock, and then you have that meat.
Yeah, when you go to buy your hopefully local turkey from your favorite farm, chances are they probably have some chicken neck and backbones in their freezer that I'm sure they'd be willing to sell you, which make a great stock.
So, and then we have these the toasted bread. So this toasted bread is from our own white bread that we make at Wallace Station. I'm very lucky to have that resource. So it was baked by the bakery, and then we just slice it and cube it and toast it at a very low temperature. It needs to be toasted at about 300 degrees on big sheet pans until it's perfectly dry and crisp. So you don't want it to be, and Tyler's point to me earlier is such a good one. You want it really dry.
It's got to be, you don't want to, you're not toasting like a crouton. It's not toasted in butter where you're removing moisture. That's the point of the toast on this. So you're really drying. And that's because you want to remove as much moisture from the bread as possible so that you have more room to put in lots and lots of stock and lots of butter and all your flavorings.
Right. And this does call for 1 pound of butter. You can reduce the amount of butter. It's your stuffing after all. And then you can see I wanted to get a head start, so I've sauteed. It calls for 6 cups of onions. It all feels like too much to you, doesn't it? 6 cups of onions, 6 cups of celery, 6 cups of fresh apples, all sauteed in 1 pound of butter. And then this is all sage from the Holly Hill Gardens, about 1/2 cup of that, and 1 cup of fresh chopped parsley. And then Tyler, we're going to need to put some salt and pepper in here. And then we're going to pour 1 quart of this stock in, almost 1 quart. And then I'm going to stir it up and we're going to take a look at it. But it requires a lot of chicken broth. And the butter is part of what makes it good. So we want it to be crispy but getting soft before we put it in the. Oh, I love this so much. Whew.
So I think I bet if we ask the chat what their favorite side dish of Thanksgiving is, the majority of people, my guess, they're going to say stuffing.
Yeah.
I think it's probably my favorite
Did you
part.
put some salt in?
Yeah, there's a little bit of salt in there and some pepper.
Okay, I need a little bit more stock because it's still a little bit
Yeah.
hard.
So, but I think people have different ideas of what the texture of a stuffing should be. My grandmothers, I had one grandma who had a nice kind of crispy exterior, but it was kind of bone dry all the way through.
No.
The other, it was a little bit. There wasn't really much texture on the outside, but it was nice and fluffy on the inside. And I think what you want is a nice crispy exterior, but really light and soft on the inside, and still moist.
Okay, I'm going to add this last bit of chicken broth to it.
And the way I think about it is kind of like a savory bread pudding.
Yes, exactly.
Do you cook it uncovered the entire time?
No, I cover it and then I uncover it.
And then uncover it to brown it up?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's almost like
And-
you're almost steaming it
Right.
to completion.
And my favorite is inside the bird. That's my favorite. But that's something you got to be really careful to do. So you don't want to get yourself sick and all that stuff. You really need to be super careful. Isn't it tasty?
It's good.
Does it need more butter?
I just added a little bit more salt.
Might need a little
You can't
butter.
ask me that because my answer is always yes.
Yeah, okay, well, so we have this little bit of butter here. And this might be a good time to say to people that, like, everything's based on taste. So it's really important to taste as you go. And that recipes are a particular starting point, but they don't have to be, they're not there to be written, they're not written in stone. This is your dinner and you're supposed to be making things to taste. Let me try it.
Yeah, there's some salt on top there.
Oh yeah, that needs to be mixed up a little bit. Yeah, I feel the stock is right, but it needs butter. So it's going to be a little bit more than a pound of butter. But your breadcrumbs might be different. Now, I want to emphasize something. When you go to the store and you buy the cubed breadcrumbs in the bags, I have tried to find plain ones, and it's basically impossible to do now. They essentially season it all for you. Don't use those. They're just full of too much salt, and this is a plea from me to Pepperidge Farm. They used to make plain toasty breadcrumbs, and I cannot find them anymore. So if you know where they are and you're in the chat, if you could please tell me where you've bought them, that would be great.
Or buy a loaf of Midway Bakery white bread and toast it yourself.
Or make your own. And I use whole wheat bread, I use rye bread, I use every kind
Oh yeah,
of
I've
bread.
used our sourdough in the past, and
Yeah.
it's been great.
Okay, now put all that
And you never do a cornbread dressing.
I don't like cornbread dressing. I know that's a sin. I love cornbread. I feel like cornbread dressing gets too mushy. It's too soggy. But I was just raised on this dressing. That's why I don't like cornbread dressing. But now if you bring it to my house, I will eat it and love it. I don't make oyster dressing. I don't make sausage dressing. But I do love that. Oh, this is looking very good. Okay, this is how it's supposed to be. I think this is right. Okay,
Yeah.
now give it a try. I think Willa would say that it doesn't have enough sage in it.
I like a ton of sage.
Yeah. We could go with a little bit more sage, I think.
Tastes really good. And you've got apple in there as well,
Mm-hmm.
which I like. I don't do that, but I do like that.
Oh, yeah. I love apple in there. You can add whatever you want. I would say that this is sort of a base recipe that's really nice to have. And then to this, you could add browned sausage. You could add chopped pecans.
Chestnuts. Mushrooms.
Yeah, all of that. We don't add mushrooms because we do stuffed mushrooms, and we made those for you tonight.
And we have we eat our mushrooms in the form of a mushroom cream
You need
smothering
to
our
bring
green
that
beans.
out and talk about it because we're going to pop this in the oven with the mushroom casserole.
We've this is my wife's favorite dish and contribution to the meal every year. And we don't really have a recipe for it, but we did our best to recreate it, and I think it's come out pretty close. It's a little bit different every year, but this is pretty close to what how she likes to make it. And we've used haricot vert, so just a French thin green bean that's been trimmed and blanched in salted boiling water, shocked in ice water, and then allowed to dry in a colander for a little bit. and the cream is made using a duxelle of mushroom, which is just a kind of a pulsed in the food processor mushroom caps until they're nice and fine.
Ooh, yum.
And they're dried out in a nonstick skillet. Once the moisture has evaporated, then we add a little butter, saute lots of finely minced shallot and garlic, deglaze with a little bit of sherry, reduce that down, add a little bit more butter, create a roux using some flour, and then we whisk in some of our beautiful homemade chicken stock, thicken that, and finish it with heavy cream. And then we taste for seasoning, usually add a little bit of fresh herb. I like some thyme. And then if it needs a little bit of additional acidity, lemon juice is great, or a good sherry vinegar.
And you have fried onions on the back.
And then, so we're gonna pop this in the oven. And both of these are, these are ready to eat items. Everything is cooked in these. All they have to do is go in the oven to finish, which is why I like to get things to this point. And I like to have my bird roasted and resting, and that's when all of the side dishes come together. Everything's in a crock, ready to go in the oven. The potatoes are ready to be whipped. The gravy's boiling on the stove, and all these need to do is essentially heat up and reach the right temperature and the right texture. And then when these green beans come out of the oven, we're going to top them with a little bit of our.
Oh, you top them when they come out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, sometimes we put it on when they go in too.
Okay.
So
that's instead of like the canned fried onions.
Yeah, instead of the canned fried onions. So we like to we'll put a little bit on as they go in,
put some more
and then we'll put some more on when they come out. So these are our homemade fried onions using just a yellow onion and Weisenberger Mill fish fry, which is
It's our secret ingredient.
It's one of our secret weapons. It's one of the best. It's one of the best dredges for frying just about anything.
We fry all our catfish with that Weisenberger. We love Weisenberger Mill. We love the Weisenberger family.
Yep.
They're fabulous.
All right.
Okay, so you're going to pop. You don't have to put both of these stuffings in.
Okay.
We can just put one in for right now. And again, if you were going to have, if you needed to hold that stuffing for a long time or wanted it to be in the oven, it shouldn't take more than like 45 minutes. And you can like cover it for the first half and then uncover it. If you're going to cover any of your food in foil, like for me, often with the turkey, if I feel like the skin's getting overdone, I'll put what my mom would call a tint on it. I'll put a foil tint on it. But if you're gonna like cover your stuffing with foil to get it into the oven, make sure you use a little piece of parchment paper in between the foil and the food. Because aluminum foil can rub off on your food, and you don't want that. So you just add a little bit of parchment paper that you put in between. All right, it's time for the gravy battle. Is that what you're doing? Getting gravy ready? Okay.
All right. So we're going to make two gravies.
Oh, yeah, you've got your stock there. Okay.
Got my stock, I got my cream. Thank you. Got my little bouquet here. And this is, so this is my, yeah.
Just
you have a question?
Before we go to gravies, how long are we baking the stuffing and at what temperature?
So we're at 350 in a convection oven. And
I use a conventional oven, and remember what I told you at the beginning. I keep my oven at 350 for Thanksgiving Day because it's a good temperature for all of the stuff that I'm doing. And it can stay in there from, again, you need it to be hot, so it needs to be a minimum of 25 minutes, but it can go longer if you need it to go longer. Mm-hmm. So it could go up to 45 minutes, for sure.
I think 25 to 45, that's your window, but 30 minutes is probably you're going to be
about right.
About right, yeah. So
gravy.
We're moving on to gravy, and we've got a couple methods here. This is.
You have to bring me my little roasting pan.
Oh yeah, okay. And our jus is right back there, right behind you.
Yeah, I've got it.
All right, can you get that?
Yeah. Ooh. Okay. Ooh, that's nice and warm. Okay. Go ahead.
So I'm gonna start making my gravy in this pot, and I'm gonna begin by making a roux. So essentially, I'm making a veloute, and I like to make a ton of gravy this way because it just relying solely on the juices produced by the turkey, it just does not make enough gravy. I utilize all of these drippings from the pan. That all goes into my gravy, but I like to start with a veloute. And I use it as an opportunity to add flavor to the gravy. So
What is a velouté, Tyler?
So velouté is a fancy term for...
One of the 5 mother sauces.
Velouté is a fancy term for gravy. It's a French mother sauce, and it's made using the same method as you would make like a white gravy for a pork chop or biscuits and gravy. But instead of using milk or cream, we're using a nice chicken stock, and we're going to darken our roux slightly. So when you're sautéing your flour in your pan for sausage gravy, you kind of put the flour in, and then pretty soon after you follow in with the milk. Here we're gonna brown our butter off to add flavor and to add color, and then once the butter's nice and hot and the milk solids have caramelized, we're gonna add flour, and we're gonna brown the flour in that hot butter, and then we're gonna whisk in our nice dark chicken stock. And so for this chicken stock, you did not roast the bones,
no.
But you can see, I mean, it's a beautiful color.
Yeah.
And you can.
Of course.
it's really, I mean, it's honestly, it's a perfect chicken stock. But you can. I'm not just saying that.
You to say that.
No, I walked into the kitchen this morning and she was pulling it off the stove, and I was like, oh my God, that smells so good. I mean, the color's beautiful. It's nice and clear. It's not cloudy. It's just a really well-made chicken stock. So follow the recipe that Weta gave you if you want to make homemade chicken stock.
Now, while that's browning up, don't let us go without you showing us each step.
Okay.
But I want to show you. This is my mom's method of making the gravy. Now, this was the pan we roasted our turkey in, and you may or may not be able to tell that it still has some juice in it. It also has quite a bit of fond in the bottom of the pan. And then she used what we used to call the gravy jar. This is essentially a slurry, okay? Sometimes people make it with cornstarch. It's basically equal parts of flour and chicken stock. Do not use hot stock because you'll clump your flour. So you just kind of get it going, and then you shake it, baby, shake it. And then we'll degrease this and we'll add chicken broth to it. Now, if you have a big roasting pan at home and you pull your turkey out of that and you set it out, and you can use that roasting pan to make your gravy. This is a little roasting pan, but it's still going to work for a small amount of gravy. But Tyler's right. If you need to make like 2 quarts of gravy or something like that, you need to go into the pan, into the pot, as they say.
So I don't know if you can see, but you can probably hear that my butter has stopped sizzling, which means that all of the water content in the butter has cooked out, and now all that's left are the milk solids and the butter fat. And if we don't remove those milk solids, they're going to start to caramelize, and they're going to start to brown and color this butter fat. And you can, I wish you could smell it, but it
smells fabulous.
It's becoming nice. So at this point, because it's a small amount of butter, it's going to start to darken really quickly, and it can burn. So I'm going to go in to this hot butter with my flour now. And now what we're doing is we're cooking a roux.
But what kind of roux? You're doing a darker.
We're gonna take this to like a medium brown, kind of a noisette.
A nut brown.
A nut brown. If we were making a gumbo, we would take this to like chocolate coffee color. And so this is a technique that's used a lot in Creole and Cajun cooking, and I love to apply it to my gravy for Thanksgiving Day, because a lot of times I feel like the gravy I just like it on the darker side. I like a little bit of extra color and a little deeper flavor, and this is a great way to do that, is by darkening your roux, and by when you're making your stock, roasting the bones and roasting some of your mirepoix that go into it, and you can deepen the flavor that way as well. And so now you can see how quickly the flour in there has gone from white to now we're a nice nutty brown.
Nut brown.
And if I can borrow your whisk, I'm going to start going in.
Oh, it's all for you.
Thank you. I'm going to start going in with my cold stock into a hot roux. And you can see, you got to be careful at this point because it's so hot.
It can burn you.
It'll burn you. It's going to produce a lot of steam. That's one of the dangers of making Creole food. You should see us when we make our 10-gallon batch of étouffée, and we put like 3 gallons of finely minced vegetables into a roux, much like this.
It's crazy.
It's like a steam bomb going off. So this cold stock straight into that hot pan is thickening up immediately, and it's got a nice nutty brown color.
And what I'm doing is I have my my roasting pan, and I have the heat on low, and all of those solids that you see on the bottom of the pan, that's called fond, and I'm scraping it up. Now at this point, if I were not making this gravy, Tyler would put all of this into his gravy.
Right. I would do the same thing that Wheat is doing. I would scrape up all of the fond, which are the caramelized bits in the bottom of your roasting pan, with a little bit of stock or maybe even a splash of white wine. And I would scrape all of that and all the juices from the bird straight into this gravy.
But if you're worried about making a roux, you can do the test as old as time and do the old-fashioned slurry jar, like my mom. And we're just going to stir it in.
Now, this is a pretty shallow pan you're working with here.
It's still going to be good, believe me.
Don't try this if you're not a pro in a shallow pan like that.
I don't know about that. I don't think you got to be much of a pro. But, and it won't, like I said, we're not making a huge amount. I just really wanted to show you the slurry amount. And remember, the ratio is 1-to-1, flour to stock. And I have another ratio to tell you. Let's say you're gluten intolerant, or some people in your family are, okay? So how are you going to make a gravy? You need to thicken it with cornstarch. And 1 cup of cornstarch will thicken 1 gallon. So think 1-to-1. 1 cup of cornstarch will thicken 1 gallon of liquid. So if you're going to make a quart, which is what Tyler put in his gravy, how much cornstarch do you need? 1/4 cup. And so you would take 1/4 cup of cornstarch and 1/4 cup of liquid, maybe a little bit more, either stock or even a little bit of water, and that's how you're going to thicken your gravy. So that's the gluten-free method. And you can see this is thickening up really great. And we're going to add our pan juices to it.
Oh, look at that.
Oh,
meat jelly.
Meat jelly. Okay. Yeah,
so I'm going to put a little bouquet garni of, this is sage and thyme and rosemary. So missing parsley to be a true bouquet garni, but it's a little sachet of fresh herbs from the garden. And just reinforcing the flavors that are already a part of the roasted bird and the chicken stock that went into it, but a little bit of fresh herb right at the end infused into your gravy just gives it that little kick in the pants.
Now when we yelled out meat jelly, hopefully you saw that. All of that came from one of those Elmwood organic birds. You can tell it's not filled with any saline. There's not tons of liquid flowing out of that bird. And it's all just, it's a gloss, what we call in French cooking as a gloss. Now look at, isn't that a nice little gravy there?
It looks beautiful.
Eat your heart out, baby. You got to try it, taste it. And then we'll add it all together. We'll combine them all together, I think, in your pot. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I love it.
So we have all the pan drippings.
Yep, and then I usually finish my gravy with a little bit of heavy cream, and then and then some salt and lots of black pepper.
I don't think mine needs a damn thing.
You got all those salty pan juices
I do.
in
I have
there.
all the pan juices. Taste it. It's really good. I don't put cream in my gravy.
Oh yeah, that's very good. It doesn't need anything. You're right.
It's all natural, au naturel from the bird itself. I will say too that when Julia was making her mushroom sauce, or Jacques was making his little roast chicken sauce, many times he uses slurry. Mm-hmm. And sometimes in French cooking that's called toulier, to thicken. And most of our young chefs, they don't know what that means, and they're totally against it. Anyway, my favorite. Beautiful. Okay, I'm going to let you combine those.
I'll take care of this.
All right, and we're going to clean up a little. And if you need a little extra thickening, you're welcome to my slurry jar. My Pam's slurry jar.
I'm just going to let these simmer and...
Oh yeah, that's going to be good.
Oops.
You cannot have too much gravy. Now my mom, and I don't know about, I'd love to hear from you guys in the chat, but my mom used to boil eggs, hard-boiled eggs, and slice them and put them in the gravy. And also those necks, the neck bones that I told you I roast the turkey on, I'll pull all the meat off those neck bones and put them in the gravy. And she would also cook the gizzard and the chicken liver, which I don't like. And chop those up and put them in her gravy. So it was hard-boiled egg, and it was a giblet gravy. And I always tried to eat the gravy around. I like the eggs okay, but I would try not to get any liver bits in my gravy. So now that I'm an, fully fledged Thanksgiving cook, I don't put any giblets in my gravy anymore. Okay, let's get this cleaned up, and then we're going to start our next demo.
What do you do with the liver and?
Oh, what do I do with
what
the liver?
What do you do with the liver, Wita?
Well, I like to make, and this is a recipe from my mother-in-law, who's also passed away, but her name was Joan Michael, and my whole life I hated liver until the first Thanksgiving I ever spent at her home. She was a fantastic cook, and she made every year chicken liver pate, and she used the recipe inspired by Craig Claiborne in the New York Times. And so I love her recipe, and I've included it. I haven't given you the recipe, but I will email it to you all because I'm going to show it to you later today. But before we move on to tarte tatin, I wanted to talk a little bit about all the different things that we have going on here at our website, hollyhillandco.com, and in the studio. Like we said before, this is where we teach in-person classes. We've taught every week for the last year and a half. We have new classes that we're getting ready to tell people about. We'll be telling you about that on December 5th, and those will be, that'll take us through to March. So we have some really great guests that are going to be joining us. Tao Green is going to repeat. Bridget Prather is going to come and teach with me. And Tyler and I have some fantastic ideas around Spanish cooking, around Ethiopian cooking, which we like. But also in our online store, it's holiday time. You're going to be giving a lot of gifts. I want you to give something that's meaningful. And so I'm going to shamelessly plug the things that I really love and care about that are on our website right now. And it's because we're making these things and curating these things right here in Central Kentucky. And they really speak to who we are and what we do in our restaurants and what we do in our studio. One of the things that we've done every year for the last 10 years at least, and I lost count, I don't remember when we started it, was to make holiday cookies. And over the years, we got better and better at it. And when 2020 came and shut down all the restaurants, we shipped cookies all around the country. It was kind of how we stayed afloat. It really, really helped us develop a revenue stream to keep the restaurants open, to keep our staff, going and all that kind of thing. And we've done them ever since then, but I feel like they've gotten better and better. And this year we have two beautiful cookie tins. We have a large cookie tin for the first time that holds 48 cookies, and a small cookie tin, which we've had for many years, and that's traditional. It holds 24 cookies. All the cookies are baked in our bakery at Midway Bakery in Midway, Kentucky, and you can visit if you want to. And there are two very special recipes in those boxes that I want to tell you about. One is the icebox cookie, which was my grandmother's favorite cookie, which is my favorite cookie. And in our family, my brother makes those. Mm-hmm. But they have been made every year that I've been alive. I know that for sure. Your grandmother,
who was named Wita?
My grandma Wita, yes. And the other one is called a damn good sugar cookie. Mm-hmm. And we started making those. My great-grandmother's mother started baking those cookies. And they could have gone back further, but I don't know. But every year since then, we have had them at our holiday table. And those are included in these boxes. And my grandmother, Myrtle Molly, she never said a bad word. And for her to name those cookies damn good sugar cookies, which really means something. So I highly recommend those. We have our beautiful Tomango ketchup, which is new this year from Honeywood. We bottle these with Bluegrass Superior Foods. They're based in Louisville. They use our recipes. We taste test. We have our seasonal apple butter that we make with Evans Orchard apples. That's out right now. The Wallace Station Bourbon Mustard we've been making for 20 years to go on our sandwiches, and the pickled pepper mustard out of Smithtown Seafood. It's delicious. We've been making that since we opened Smithtown. And Windy Corner has their special super spice, which is all the spice rub we've used on our pork butts there for all of our poor boys, etc.
And you can buy those in a nice little kit. Look, Anne
has packaged them in a beautiful kit, and you can also get them separately. And the bourbon tasting game. I think this is a really unique gift for somebody who may be just starting out in terms of bourbon connoisseurship, or maybe they're trying to develop their tasting skills or develop their palate memory. And you and I have done this a million times, where we take people around a list of ingredients and we have them taste bourbon with food, and they can really get a sense of how does this dried cranberry taste with the bourbon, etc. These are made by Ruth Hunt Candy, and Ruth Hunt also does all of our bourbon balls. They do all our bourbon toffee crunch, our bourbon caramels. So we have a lot to offer. And I thank you for listening to me. But I'm just super proud of the team that's put these products together. It's a lot of work, and we want to make sure that we're really, reflecting our own community and our own food culture back to you. You can buy the corn cookies in new bags. You can buy the icebox cookies in new bags, or you can get the assorted cookies. And one thing that I know you love, Tyler, and I think it's over here, is the Hoe Cake Nation.
The Hoe Cake Nation hat.
Really see it. Yeah, so we're starting a whole movement called Hoe Cake Nation, and we want everybody to join.
Yeah, everyone can be a part of Hoe Cake Nation.
We sell thousands and thousands of hoe cakes every year, large ones, small ones. And when we make the little ones and we put all different toppings on them, we call that Hoe Cake Nation.
It's just something that we've been saying. Like you said, we've served thousands and thousands of hoe cakes with various toppings inspired by all parts of the world.
Right.
And so whenever we do whenever it's part of our past hors d'oeuvres or smorgasbord, we always say, it's time for Hoe Cake Nation. And that's just developed into it means a little bit more to us now. It's just another way for us to express what it means to be a part of our food community, because we see the hoe cake as such a humble but iconic and integral part of food culture in Kentucky, and it's something that we serve at all of our restaurants. And so it's just our way of saying, thanks for being a part of our food culture, and thanks for being a part of Hoe Cake Nation.
And we know you can shop a lot of places, so we really appreciate you thinking about shopping on our little store, either online or here in for sales or at all our restaurants. Okay, now, enough of that. Time for, but there's one thing we forgot. There's a special thing, and now I really do feel like Ron Popeil. There's a special thing. If you shop from now to midnight on Friday, all shipping is free, and it doesn't matter what you ship, all shipping is free. From now till midnight on Friday, all shipping is free, and there's a promo code.
You use the promo code TURKEY.
Promo code is turkey. All right, now we can talk tartane.
All right.
Talk tartane.
So this is one of my all-time favorite desserts. It's super classic French. It was developed by the Tatin sisters at their hotel, and
it's super easy.
It's if you have flour, sugar, butter,
and you can make puff pastry.
And you can make puff pastry, or if you can buy puff pastry. We made the dough. We made a little rough puff pie dough for our topping, which works really well. But you can buy puff pastry, or you can, if you have a bakery that you like, that maybe they can roll out a little pie dough topping for you. But it's very easy. If you have flour, sugar, and butter and apples, you can make this recipe. And we
a lot of times serve this with the cassoulet dinner.
Yeah, and I love to serve it with a heavy meal because it's mainly fruit. So it's a little bit light. It's a really thin pastry crust. And there's more butter in it, but I think it's a lighter way to end.
I think it's super sexy. I love this dessert.
It is a sexy dessert, and the reveal, if you get it right, is really impressive. So we've got some melted butter in our cast iron skillet, and you can do this in a non-stick skillet. It's actually if you're worried about cooking in a cast iron pan, although if your cast iron is well maintained, it should be as good as a non-stick skillet. But
I was just going to take offense at that.
So we cook ours in cast iron skillets. You can use a non-stick pan. So we've got some melted butter and a little bit of granulated sugar, and we're gonna crank the heat up because we're gonna try to make a caramel, which I know is.
Do you have to make the caramel before you put the apples in?
You don't. So you can actually.
Okay.
We're actually gonna create the caramel as we simmer the apples.
Okay.
There are different recipes. Some people do make a caramel and then they'll cook the apples in the caramel on the stove and toss them because they're trying.
This is the traditional way.
This is one of
Tyler way.
This is one of the traditional methods. This is, if you look at Julia Child's recipe in Mastering the Art of French Cooking, this is how she does it.
Then that's the way I want to do it.
Although she, in her recipe, she slices her apples thinner and fans them.
I know, she's super fancy.
Which I think that it's more difficult to create a caramel if you do it that way. When you cut your apples into halves, you end up with a really dramatic presentation that looks very nice. And you leave space for evaporation, which you need in order to create a caramel. You've got to cook some of this water out. Again, there's water content in butter, and if water is evaporating, it evaporates at 212 degrees, so you can't really cook much hotter than that. So you can't create a caramel until the water has cooked out.
And the other thing I like about the halves is that you can make sure that everybody gets
a nice. So yeah, when we go to cut this,
you'll see.
I've got 8 pieces of apple that are going to go around the outside. So this is going to be a pan for 8 servings, and then I've got 8 here in the center. And this is a pan that we've started cooking earlier because it does take a little bit to get that caramel in the pan.
We wanted to show it to you at every stage.
Every
the beginning stage, and then this is the intermediate stage, and we have one that's finished that you'll see.
So now you can see I'm already starting to caramelize some of that sugar in the pan, which is great. That's what we want. And really, it's just a balancing act. You're just you don't want to darken your caramel too fast. You want your apples to begin to soften and to release some of their juices into the pan, which is going to help. It
smells so good.
I know it's going to help to save the caramel. The juices from the apple are going to add to the sauce. They're going to emulsify the butter with the sugar, and they're going to keep your caramel from overcooking. So you don't want to go too fast, but you do want to start hot, and then you can lower your temperature a little bit. And if you see that your sugar starts to crystallize in the pan, don't worry, don't panic. You don't have to throw it out. Again, usually just by adding a little bit of moisture to the pan, it will dissolve those crystals and it'll come back into a caramel, and that moisture is going to come from the apples as they start to cook it down. So we cook it like this until we've reached this stage. And this has been sitting for a little while, but you can see.
I'm going to get a little plate out so you can
put a
little of that on a plate.
So you can see the dark caramel.
Doesn't that look great?
That we're looking for, and it's totally emulsified, and the apples are still holding their shape. So these apples are not really cooked through yet. You want them to be semi-raw when they go into the oven. We're now here we're at the point where we can add our pastry. Good. And so I like to make sure that the apples are.
You should just taste a little bit of that. You know why? It tastes like the apple.
It does. It tastes like apple caramel.
Yeah. Yummy.
Yeah. And these are Gold Rush apples from Stepping Stone Farm in Bourbon County. I think they're at the end. They're pretty much at the end of their season. They might still have some apples and pears if you swing by, but they're finishing things up. But they're a great family-owned operation. We love to support them. And so now, once you've reached this point, you've got your caramel in, lots of sauce in the bottom of the pan. This is our pie crust that we rolled out. It's like it's a super buttery, flaky pie crust that we've folded on itself a few times to create kind of a rough puff effect. And this is going to go right on top. And I'm not, you can trim up these sides if you want, but I'm not all that concerned about it. I just kind of tuck it in.
I like it because you get extra crispy.
You get extra crust, which I like, lots of extra crust around the edge. So I just like to tuck it in around the edges. And then I will take a little spoon and then just really try to tuck the crust in and around the apples to kind of hug them. And that's going to help to keep a lot of that caramel inside, and it's going to create a nice ring of crust around the edge there.
Oh, yum.
And then finally, and I forgot to say, I do sprinkle a little bit of salt on top of the apples while I'm creating the caramel, because I think, a little bit of salt.
Better do that on those. Then.
A little bit of salt in an apple pie, just goes a long way. Not much, just a pinch. And then finally, before it goes in the oven, we pierce the top of the crust to let some steam out, which is going to help that caramel to continue to reduce. This is ready to go into the oven. It's going to bake for about 30 minutes at 350 convection. And
will it fit in that one? That's
we've got a beautiful looking stuffing that's been in for about 25 minutes, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but now if we had covered this, it wouldn't be crusty on the top. But that's how you do want it. You want it nice and crusty on the top.
And a green bean, a mushroom and green bean casserole.
Those look really good.
With some crispy onions on top. And so our tart tatin can go in. And we have we've got a finished product that we've already turned out, but this.
And if we have time, we'll turn the other one out for you.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So, I don't know. Can we get a top down?
Oh yeah, that's really good.
So nice dark caramel, really brown, flaky, buttery crust, and there's lots of sauce in between those apples.
So you can see the way Tyler arranged the apples that I like is one slice of apple per person.
So everybody gets one. That'll be one slice there.
Yeah.
Everybody gets 1/2 of an apple, and a little bit of sweetened creme fraiche or whipped cream or a dollop of ice cream, and really, really simple, beautiful fall dessert.
Yum, yum, yum. Okay, so now we have a dessert. We are going to go to cranberries. We have a little bit of cranberry talk that we have to do. Okay, so one of the things. All right, now I'm going to bring out the. God. Okay.
The obligatory can
of
cranberry jelly.
Okay, so we have 3 kinds of cranberry. Why don't you talk through your cranberry sauce first?
Okay, this is what I make every year. And growing up, we just had the can of sliced jelly on a plate, and it's my brother's favorite. I know my dad loves it, but I really like. So now we have 2 every year. We always have the can of sliced, but I make a fresh cranberry.
That's delicious.
With lots of, I like it. It's not complicated, but there's a ton of ginger, and then fresh orange juice and fresh orange zest, and then a little bit of honey and a little bit of sugar. Yeah. And that's it. And you bring it to a boil and turn it off, and all of that natural pectin in the cranberry just sets into a beautiful kind of chunky compote, and yeah. And
I do love that cranberry sauce. I like a raw cranberry sauce. And so I included this one, and I also gave you my grandmother's, which has little mini marshmallows in it. This is Willa's favorite. She makes this every year.
And this, you made me taste this earlier, and somehow, I've known you for 13 years. This is the first time I've ever tasted this, and it is delicious.
It's so good.
It's so good. So we might have a 3rd cranberry relish at our Thanksgiving table this year.
Nice thing about it, it's super, super easy. So it's just 1 bag of cranberries, 1 orange. I think it's a 1/2 cup of toasted walnuts and 3/4 cup of sugar. And it's just, you cut the orange into chunks, you pulse everything in your food processor till you get this consistency, and that's it. And then it can sit, and you can make this a couple of days ahead. It's really, really good. This one, I love. Did we include the recipe for this?
I don't think we did, but...
No, because Tyler doesn't use recipes, everybody. But what I recommend for how you get to this recipe is follow the directions for the cranberry sauce on the back of the bag for your cranberries.
Yep. Replace the water with orange juice.
Yes.
And then just zest however many oranges it takes for you to get that amount of juice. Zest the oranges, add that in, and add a piece of ginger.
About the size of your thumb.
Like the size of your thumb down to your palm.
Unless you have a very small thumb.
Yeah. Peel it and then just grate it on a cheese grater or a microplane and pop that right in.
Yeah, that's delicious. I love both of those.
And then I substitute, I like I said, I use a little bit of honey and sugar, but you can use straight sugar or brown sugar, whatever you want.
Yeah. In my family, this is Christopher's favorite.
Yeah.
He loves the jelly sliced like that. And I hate this thing. So I don't touch it, but I have it on the table every year just for him. I know he's watching out there, so this one's for you, honey.
I don't.
Are you going to try it?
I don't know that I've actually ever.
But like in the chat, do we have anybody who has favorite cranberry relish recipes? Put them in there. Let us hear what you liked at home. If you like the where did this even come from? Like,
are you supposed? Is it supposed to be warmed and served in a sauce form?
No.
We've always had it sliced right out of the can.
It's supposed to be sliced.
Okay.
I think that's right. Okay. So that is cranberries. So we have 3 different cranberries preparations. There's tons of different ones that you can see online.
But
these are the ones that we make at home.
But when you have lots of cranberry relishes, then the possibilities for leftovers the next day are endless.
Yes. I will say the raw cranberry sauce makes an excellent condiment on a sandwich.
While we're talking about cranberries, can I bring out my grandmother's cheese salad?
Bring out the cheese salad, and then we have to carve some turkey.
All right.
sort of. We at some point have to get to carving the turkey.
So this, while we're talking about family tradition, my grandma, my Nan, Ruth, she, every year, Thanksgiving and Christmas, just kind of through the holiday season, she would make this frozen cheese salad. It's in the tradition of like Ambrosia's from like 1940s and 50s cookbooks. And it's whipped cream, and I think she used Cool Whip, and orange Jello, and canned mandarins, and crushed canned pineapple. We're not exactly sure what all went into it. We don't have the recipe, but it was a favorite of her children. My dad, it's one of his favorite things on earth. So I'm working on recreating it, and this honestly looks pretty similar to what she would make. But
Did you taste it yet?
There's also shredded cheddar cheese folded into it, and she didn't top hers with the mandarin oranges like that. So this is my first attempt at recreating Nan's orange salad. But she always had a frozen orange salad and a frozen pink salad, which was a cranberry.
Even though we're going to put it on the Thanksgiving table?
Yeah.
Oh God. It uses the pineapple tidbit and canned mandarin oranges.
There's something to it.
I think if you made a from scratch orange aspic.
Mm-hmm. Well, how do you feel about the cheese?
Not great. I mean, it's not bad.
Mm-hmm.
You think she used Cool Whip?
She used Cool Whip for sure. Yeah.
So maybe a little vanilla or something in there would get you a little closer to that flavor.
Yeah.
I think it's weird, a combination of ingredients, the sharp cheddar cheese and the pineapple and the mandarin oranges with orange Jello.
Yeah.
Does anybody have a provenance for this dish out there in the chat? Do you all know where this came from? Donna has some theories. Okay. All right. Well, okay.
All right.
I'm glad I tried it. Like everything, I want to put this back together because we have to make it presentable for the...
There we go.
Okay.
Perfect.
Okay. Now, you have to carve turkey. That is your job. Now, I will say, I never carve turkey at the table. Like I said, I always like to have a show turkey, and I have my show turkey on a platter, and then I carve the meat to a platter in the kitchen, and I arrive at the table with a beautifully decorated show turkey and a platter of carved turkey meat. I really, really don't like... Oh, I had that for you, Tyler. Shoot.
No, it went into the gravy.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Well, I had saved some of the fat and forgot.
Oh, it's okay.
But so that's my tip for you, is to roast 2 turkeys, have one that's a show turkey. Or even if you don't want to do that, you just want to have 1 turkey. If you're not a really good turkey carver, don't bother trying to carve the turkey at the table. It's no big deal. The other thing that I often use, that my dad liked to use when he was carving the turkey, is an electric knife. Can work very well for carving turkeys, and it might be one of the only times that you use an electric knife during the year, but an electric knife is really great. So let's take a look at this bird that we've roasted. It's beautiful. Whoos! Looks wonderful.
Looks pretty good.
It does look pretty good. Looks
right.
really good.
Okay, so this guy is really well rested. He's just been sitting on top of the stove for a while now, which, I rest my turkey for a long time because I like to make sure that all the sides are nice and hot, and the mashed potatoes, everything's fresh.
Yeah. And the turkey will stay hot.
And the turkey will stay hot, And again, most of those side dishes are cooked through, and they just need to be heated up and crisped in the oven a little bit. So my method is always to get the turkey roasted, get it resting, and then I bring everything else to the finish. And that gives the turkey a good long while to rest, which is important for the juiciness of the turkey. Not overcooking obviously is important, but also giving it ample time to rest so that the juices that do remain in the turkey can disperse back through the meat. And also, when meat comes right out of the oven, it's all seized up from the heat, so the muscles relax, and you're going to end up with a more tender product if you give ample resting time.
Oh, and I'm gonna give you a bowl for the bones because I want all those bones,
Oh yeah.
like the wingtips and everything.
So I'm just going to start by cutting in right next to the drum bone, kind of parallel to the thigh.
Right where we told you to put your thermometer.
Yep, and that just
through that skin.
to release this thigh, and it really ought to just pop right out of that socket.
It's coming. Oh, look at that, so delicious looking. Whoa. Oh, I love turkey. Oh wow, that's a beautiful. Ooh.
Thank you.
Let me help you
There we
hold
go.
the turkey.
Okay.
Yummy.
So we got our full. That's what I'm going for right there.
Yes.
This thigh piece, and
Yes.
then
Separate those.
so we're going to separate the drum bone from the thigh. So if the drum bone is pointed right at you, or kind of pointed at you, then you want to cut at kind of like a 45-degree angle, and that's gonna come right between the joint
ball and
of the thigh and the drum. I mean, I also think a great way to do this is to pull all the meat off of the dark and scatter it around. So
but
that
I
everyone,
do cut the thigh into a couple pieces.
You
Do
want to
do
cut it
that?
down?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
we
just
can do that.
I usually just to give a few pieces of thigh meat.
Okay.
'Cause people do love it.
Yeah.
At least in my family.
In my family, I'm usually I can get a whole thigh to myself.
Yeah. Oh boy.
Here, I'll cut that in half.
Yeah, that looks great. And I'll pull some of this meat off. That's lovely.
And you can see there's a lot of natural juice left in this thigh.
Super
which is
juicy.
what we want to see.
And cooked all the way through. And this bird roasted for 2 hours and 15 minutes in that little oven at 350. Buttered and salted. And you can see it's really, really juicy. And it didn't need a bunch of saline, and we didn't need a button in order to make it work out.
So same thing on this side, just opening up that skin and then pulling down to pop the thigh out of the socket there.
I think, can you see? Yeah, I was trying to show
Yeah.
them. Yeah, they can see it. Looks great. And I sort of arrange the carved meat like I do the bird. So I'll put like the thigh and the leg on each side.
There you go.
And then we'll go down the center with the breast.
Yep. Okay, so now we're just going to follow the keel bone down one side. And we've left the wishbone in here. You can, when you're prepping your turkey to roast, you can remove that wishbone, which some people say it makes it a little bit easier to carve, but I typically just leave it in.
Yes, Mike.
Repeat the question when I ask it to you so that everybody can hear it since you're mic'd up.
Okay.
Tyler, when you say a good long time to rest,
Yeah.
can you put in it a little bit
For
more
sure.
specific?
Yeah, I mean, like a solid, I would give your turkey minimum 30 minutes to rest because it's a big, like, you rest, a steak should be rested. Sorry, the question was, when you say a good long time to rest a turkey, what do you mean specifically? And I mean 30 minutes minimum because this is a 12 to 15 pound bird. If I'm cooking a 12-ounce steak, I'm going to rest it for at least 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So you can multiply that up, but sometimes my bird will rest for an hour while I'm getting the rest of the dishes together, and it's going to hold a lot of a lot of its heat because it's so big. It's going to stay nice and warm, especially if you rest it near the stove. And then once when you carve it, it's not going to lose any juices. You can always carve it onto a warming tray and pop it back in the oven just to bring it up a little bit. But 30 minutes minimum, I would say. All right, and we're gonna try to remove the wing along with the breast here. So we're gonna keep them attached, and it's nice. You can feel it's pulling right out of the socket, which is great. That's what we want to see. So now we've got our breast with the wing attached, and I'm gonna carve just at a little on the bias here, and I'm going to cut a piece of breast off with this wing, which is a nice way. If you've got a wing lover in your family, they can have the whole wing, plus they get a little bit of breast meat on there with it.
Yeah, it creates a nice, I think, presentation too. And then it's just slicing the breast.
Slicing all the way down.
Everyone
gets a nice piece of skin.
Yeah. And it's imperative you have a sharp knife.
You gotta have a sharp knife. That's true.
That is really important.
All right.
I think one other, what I like too about the way you slice the turkey, Tyler, is you're not trying to slice it too thin.
Right.
And that's a mistake I think a lot of people make, is they try to do really thin slices. And the problem with that is the turkey dries out, and it's hard. It kind of ends up shredding the turkey.
I hope you guys can see it, but Weta can see it. The inside of this breast, how juicy it is.
So beautiful. The turkey looks
this bird could not be more natural, could not be more well fed and well raised. So anyone that says anyone that says you got to have a big butterball that's pumped full of saline to have a juicy turkey, they just don't know what they're doing.
This is why, though, we don't carve at the table.
There we go.
Yeah, repeat the question. Do you recommend anywhere in central Kentucky to get your knives sharpened?
I don't know of anyone anymore. We used to have someone that would come around the restaurants and would sharpen kind of our house knives. I sharpen all of my own knives. We are going to do some knife sharpening. I'm sorry, I forgot to repeat the question again. Do I know anywhere in central Kentucky that someone can have their knives sharpened? I don't know of anywhere really. We are going to be teaching some knife sharpening classes on Saturdays in December. We'll be here kind of early to mid-afternoon for our retail hours. We're going to be doing small cooking demos. It's all free. You can just come by. And part of that we did last year, we did some knife sharpening demos. I will say that I know of a couple of services. There's where you can mail your knives. That's Korin.com, Korin.com. You can mail in your knives and they'll sharpen them for, I think, $10 a piece. And that's also true for Coutelier, Coutelier.com. And they're based in Nashville, Tennessee. And they have a shop, and you can mail them knives, and they'll sharpen for somewhere between like $7 to $10 a knife.
You might also repeat, somebody in the chat just said that Chevy Chase Hardware sharpens knives.
Oh, Chevy Chase Hardware sharpens knives?
Do they do a good job? I think it depends on the kind of knife. Like, I think Tyler would say this knife he's holding is several $100s. You may want to just take care of it yourself. But for utility knives, that's a great. Yeah, right on top.
This way?
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh yeah, that looks beautiful. Yeah, that looks great.
That's a good looking bird, Weta.
That is a good looking bird, Tyler. And we're going to take this board away and start bringing out all the delicious dishes and show you the Thanksgiving dinner. All right, Ann, I'll help you. Because you want to get all that?
Yeah.
Okay, got it? Okay, so let's clean up a little, just a little. All right, so we have our beautiful turkey platter, and then we have our 3 distinctive, and we'll kind of hide this guy in the background. Cult favorite, and we have Nan's frozen.
in R&D phase. We're still figuring that one out.
Oh yes, and then we have we made a couple of pâtés for appetizers. We have our pâté de campagne and Jones chicken liver pâté, and my mom's stuffed mushrooms and a dressed egg.
We have some dressed eggs.
And the tarte tatin. and the gravy, which we cannot forget. We have 2 little dishes for the gravy. And we need a spoon and some tongs. This is actually a stuffing spoon. So I have a couple of those for gravy. We have some plates and I think we did pretty good, Tyler.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Oop,
A little bit of.
got a little gravy skin on there.
All right.
That's okay. It'll be delicious. Oh, that gravy looks so good. We didn't make the mashed potatoes. Yes, Mike.
Go ahead and say for people to start thinking of the questions, because we're going to take all their questions.
Oh,
in
yeah.
the chat in just a minute.
So we are finishing up, but we want to answer all your questions. And so if you have any questions, if you could put those in the chat, then we'll entertain questions. But let's go through what's on the table one last time. So we have our Elmwood turkey, which I don't know if you can see, but like it is so juicy and delicious. My grandmother's stuffing, probably my great-grandmother's stuffing. Tyler's tarte tatin, the cooked ginger cranberry sauce, the raw orange walnut cranberry sauce, my mom's stuffed mushrooms, which we make every year, pâté de campagne, chicken liver pâté or mousse, Nan's frozen cheese salad with pineapple tidbits and mandarin oranges, Brenna's green bean casserole with cream mushroom sauce, and dressed eggs, which I feel like...
These are dressed eggs that I learned from Lisa Laufer, who used to work at Holly Hill Inn,
Yes.
and I think it's based on an Edna Lewis recipe.
Yes.
And
They're our favorite dressed eggs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for
They're
sure.
not deviled, they're dressed.
they're not deviled, they're dressed, yeah.
And then this is our chicken, not our chicken, but our turkey gravy.
Turkey gravy. And
And-
yeah, of course, we have mashed potatoes and yeast rolls and sweet potatoes usually at my house as well. But
Yeah.
we didn't produce all of that today.
We wanted to show you some things you may not have seen before and some
Right.
things that are come from straight from our family. So,
I will say, if you want a good yeast roll recipe, you can find a video of Frida Ragland making her famous yeast rolls on our website in the recipes section. Oh, and on YouTube. It's on our
It's on this channel.
on our YouTube channel.
yeah.
And you got to figure it out. You have to watch the video and try to eyeball what she's doing, but she does make the best yeast rolls, and it's worth watching.
She makes the best yeast rolls I've ever had. So, questions?
First of all, remind people to go to hollyhillandco.com/friendsgiving to find the recipes. Go ahead and do that.
Okay. So you want to go to Holly Hill and Co, HOLLYHILLANDCO.com /Friendsgiving
To get the recipes.
to get the recipes, because they're all there for you. All the recipes that we produced tonight will be there.
And there's a lot of other recipes on our website too.
Yeah, and there's tons of recipes on the website. And we send out a weekly newsletter. Donna, who's been managing the chat, Donna writes the newsletter and Tally does all the photography. Anne, who's been helping over here off the scenes, is our manager here at the studio, and she handles all your shipping needs, all your retail needs. And so it's really a pretty small family band. When you sign up for our newsletter, we don't sell your email. We don't have any ads on the newsletter. So I find most cooking blogs a little annoying because of the pop-ups. So we're not like that, and there's a lot of great recipes using local produce on our website.
Perfect. Great. First question, and repeat the question. What's the difference between a dressed egg and a deviled egg?
So the question is, what's the difference between a dressed egg and a deviled egg?
Mustard.
And mustard, and I think spice level. There's a little bit of cayenne pepper in ours. Otherwise, it's salt, a little bit of sugar, a splash of heavy cream, a splash of vinegar, and good quality mayonnaise. And we serve our dressed eggs with all kinds of toppings. So we
like caviar on them and like all
smoked trout
yeah.
and different pickles and hams and prosciuttos and all kinds of things. And so crab salad, yeah, right, a spicy lump crab salad. And so we like to keep the base pretty neutral. I mean, they're delicious. I love this recipe, but I think a deviled egg is when you're adding things like pickle relish and and mustard and hot sauce.
Yeah.
And you're upping
Worcestershire sauce.
You're upping the acidity, upping the sweetness, upping the spice level. But more often than not, those aren't like topped with lots of fine garnishes.
Right. We like those too.
I love a deviled egg.
Next question, and this is near and dear to my heart. This comes from Mandy Reno. Shout out to Macaroni
Oh my
Art.
gosh, Mandy! Mandy likes my stuffing.
So give a shout out to Macaroni Art.
Yes.
Thanksgiving strategy. What's your first plate look like, and why?
Thanksgiving eating strategy?
Thanksgiving eating strategy.
Okay.
The question is, what is our Thanksgiving eating strategy once the meal is prepared? How do we build our plates?
I Mandy, I'm afraid to tell you, I don't really have a strategy. Like my plate usually looks like a Mount Vesuvius. It's like hugely piled with everything, and then I just eat through all the layers. But typically I don't eat dessert on Thanksgiving Day. I love everything so much that's savory. I just don't have a lot of room left for anything sweet. Then or maybe late at night, I might have a piece of pie, but I can't ever eat dessert. I'm so full.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of the same. I don't have any like hard and fast rules. I like to start light on the mashed potatoes and the stuffing. I think that's a key mistake a lot of people make, is going too heavy on the stuffing and the mashed potatoes at first.
God, I go all in on the stuffing.
Because then you don't have room for that second plate. You got to start with your protein and your cranberry relish and your green beans. Get lots of that in, and then you can come in strong with a big second helping of stuffing and mashed potatoes.
I will say we usually always have a relish tray of fresh vegetables, or a spinach salad is our other go-to, or cream spinach on our table for other greens as well.
Yeah, so that's one thing we're always like trying to make sure we have at least one green vegetable as part of the meal, because otherwise it can become pretty brown. So a lot of times we default to green beans, but we've done spinach in the past. We've done Brussels sprouts, and
a lot of people love mac and cheese at Thanksgiving.
My family, we always do these buttered noodles also on Thanksgiving because my other grandmother always made these egg noodles, these like with chicken stock and butter and pepper. Yeah. It's like a Kentucky cacio e pepe kind of thing. And my brother absolutely loves it. He won't hear of having a Thanksgiving without them, so we always have to have buttered noodles. Yeah.
Love you, Cole. I think that's awesome. All right, are we all done?
One more. There's a discussion going on in the chat that some folks are saying you might be able to get your knives sharpened at a Kroger or a large grocery store.
Oh. Well, I've never seen that. I live in a town with the largest Kroger in Kentucky.
You've never seen what?
I've never seen anybody give them their knives to be sharpened, or even any kind of like knife sharpener back there. And in fact, I highly doubt, and I'm not throwing shade because I love Kroger. I don't think they cut much meat back there anymore. With the way things go, there's just not many butcher shops. There is, Critchfield's, they may sharpen knives over there on Southland Drive, and I would trust them because they're like a family, multi-generation family of butchers. So that's also a great place to pick up your yeast rolls, is Critchfield's over there on Southland Drive. So they may do it, but I don't know. Like for me personally, I'm just not going to hand my knife over to some kid on the other side of a counter. If it's a good knife, you should learn how to sharpen it.
Yeah, come see us. Come to our studio here in Versailles.
I would trust
on a Saturday in December.
I mean, I might try Chevy Chase hardware. I feel they could be trusted. Yeah. Okay. Not to throw shade on anyone, but it is important that you learn how to sharpen your knives. Otherwise, you end up with knives that have big, like, don't hit the board. And
right.
We've been through this before. Yeah.
Parting thoughts from either of you.
I'm so proud of this whole team for making this happen. This was a lot of planning, and I want to especially thank Tally, who's made the entire thing happen, did all the, titled the show. This is her first big live stream, and the level of attention to detail and everything that she put into the project, I deeply appreciate. And we couldn't have done it without you. Tyler's off looking at the tartatan. So, and also, I don't know who showed up on the chat, but like the fact that Mandy's here from Macaroni Art, they're such good friends. And I know we have a lot of really good friends and family watching. And I just want to thank you for giving us your time, and not just here on this live stream, but like just in my life in general. So Thanksgiving's a wonderful time. I'm grateful for all of the people in this room, and we better eat.
Cheers. Happy
Cheers.
Thanksgiving, everyone.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Hey, and cook together as often as you can.
And eat together.